This year, the Saskatchewan Indian Cultural Centre celebrated their 25th year of operation. I'm Gordon Tatusis, and I presided over the celebrations, which lasted several days and included a powwow, a talent show, and a banquet. It has been 25 years of success and building, as the center's current director, Linda Pelly-Landry, points out.
Hello. Well, the Cultural Centre had its beginnings in the late 60s and the early 1970s when Indian people in Saskatchewan took responsibility to review education. It came about as a result of the chief's dissatisfaction with Indian education overall in our province and with the government's move to restructure education programming in Saskatchewan. The chiefs established an education task force that took an immediate role to establish an institution that would serve to provide research means toward Indian education, and that's how the centre was established.
The centre's celebrations were kicked off with a talent show at the Saskatoon Centennial Auditorium. Some of the province's top young Aboriginal talent competed.
Thank you, beautiful.
Earlier, behind the stage, it was a busy scene as the young competitors got ready to take their turn.
I think one of the comments that our own people made was the young 7-year-old First Nation singer that came on stage and sang traditional round dance songs, and it was just wonderful to see him on stage, and you could feel the pride that he felt.
I'll be singing 2 songs. I wrote both the songs. One is No Matter What, and the other one's Suicidal Teens. And the second song is I'm going to be dedicating it to my brother, Chris. He committed suicide in 1989.
I'll be singing Blue by Leanne Rimes and Perfect Love by Trisha Yearwood. My mom and dad asked me if I'd be on Voices of the North. And I auditioned, and then they put me in voice lessons.
I'm going to be doing a song by Tracy Bird called Don't Take Her, She's All I Got. It's an old remake. Johnny Paycheck did it when I was about this high. Well, I said, friend, don't take her, she's all I got. Please don't take her love away from me. Oh, let me tell you now, friend, don't take her, she's all I got.
Dressa Shingus was introduced to Saskatchewan last year when she sang the national anthems for the National Indian Finals Rodeo.
rush is that the show was held here in a venue like this, like the Centennial Auditorium. That's pretty big, and then they're having a powwow on Saturday at SICC Place, and like us natives are getting spoiled here.
Yeah.
Like I've seen a few concerts here, and I used to always sit in the back and wish I could be up there one of these days, doing what those guys are doing. Like I think I saw Charlie Major, Carlene Carter, and that's all that. Those feelings back then hit me all at one time when I first walked out there tonight.
I like to say that I wish everybody luck.
Yeah,
Everybody did it.
Yeah,
That's
when
my
this,
job.
hey, when you win, don't forget us, man. Don't you forget us.
In the end, Erin Missiscapo was the third runner-up. Charity Grey Eyes was the second runner-up. And Mitch Daniel was the grand prize winner. The next evening, the corporate banquet was held and recognized the center's 25 years of leadership in education.
Councillor Langford,
Numerous dignitaries were on hand to offer their
Chief
congratulations.
Fable, elders, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Saskatchewan Indian Cultural Centre, but really, the culture and traditions of our First Nations people have been celebrated for thousands of years. And during that time, they have survived many challenges. And in recent years, it has really grown to be appreciated by non-Aboriginal people, and individual performers have become stars in their own right. And it has been 25 years of dedication to the promotion of First Nations art, traditions, culture, and language. And the results, as we see, are very obvious. And never before have so many First Nations artists been recognized, and never before have so many people appreciated the First Nations traditions.
I want to begin by offering my congratulations to the Saskatchewan Indian Cultural Centre for all that it has done over the last 25 years. And I'm very pleased to be here tonight to celebrate with you. The Saskatchewan Indian Cultural Centre was the first Indian-controlled provincial education institution in Saskatchewan. It had an extremely important role as a teaching facility and continues its integral role as an education and cultural resource for so many. As we move together into the next century, we know that the Cultural Centre is going to play an even more significant role in the development of Saskatchewan. The demographic study released recently by the Federation of Saskatchewan Indian Nations and the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan indicates a substantial increase in the First Nations population. By the year 2045, as many as 1/3 of Saskatchewan's residents will be Aboriginal people.
One of the other functions of the evening was the presentation of the Hilliard McNabb Scholarship to 3 recipients. Karen Drain, a master's student from the Sturgeon Lake First Nation, Judy Anderson from the Gordons First Nation, and Dawn Dumont, a member of the Okinees First Nation. Ms. Dumont was not present because she is currently taking law at Queen's. Also, the Tutswood Post-Secondary Program presented a scholarship to Dale Gilman. Chief Fable thanked the former leaders who created the Cultural Centre and protected the language and culture over the years.
And that history and the genesis of the Cultural Centre, I think, can be attributed to 2 primary developments. One, residential schools that our people went through and that were forced upon our people, and that we continue to heal the wounds of the residential schools within our communities, within our families, on a daily basis. And that the residential schools were designed to assimilate our people. They were designed to kill our language and our spirituality and our culture. And that the residential schools, with all of the grief that they imposed upon our people, combined with the Indian Act, which outlawed our sun dances, our way of prayer, our ability to commune with the Great Spirit, were 2 pressing points. And as they gathered 25 years ago, their vision was that for the future generation, as the people that were at treaties taught them to think for the future generation, their responsibility to this generation and our responsibility to the generation that follows is to preserve our songs, to preserve our languages, to preserve our ability to commune with our Creator. And that I believe that 25 years later, as we celebrate here tonight, it's important to think about that on a serious note, that our people have gone through a great deal, and that many people have sweated, many people have prayed, many people have worked hard, and that this has all been done for a good purpose and with a good reason, is that our cultural distinctiveness, our ability to be First Nations people, to be Cree, to be Dene, to be Dakota, to be Saulteaux Ojibwe, be Assiniboine, continue. And I believe that 25 years later, this vision has been achieved.
We need to reach out to
Phil Fontaine, Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, pointed out the importance of recognizing our unique culture in any future Canadian constitutional arrangements.
to take us back. If we are talking about defining Canada's future, is to tell them that the best way of doing that, of course, is to go back to the time when our ancestors negotiated treaties with the federal crown, the Queen's representatives. Because the treaties are not about land changing hands, vast real estate transactions. They're about peaceful coexistence. They're about our ancestors' vision that we could make a life together, that we could shape this country together. See? And that's the challenge that faces the premiers and the federal crown, is to shape this country in partnership with the First Nations people, the Aboriginal people. If we deny someone that opportunity, then Canada can't promote itself as it has so well for so long, that it's this great defender of human rights. And it does so throughout the world. And it does so ignoring, quite often very deliberately, how successive governments have violated the rights of First Nations people indiscriminately. And it has done so for too long. So I see this current process as an opportunity, as I said, and I don't mean to be repetitive, to make this country into the country it deserves to be, one that honors all peoples. And that is my message to you this evening. Miigwech.
The mandate of the centre has evolved over the last 25 years, but it still maintains its original mandate, and that's to support overall education in Saskatchewan, particularly to First Nations bands. But we also play a very strong role in building partnerships with non-First Nations in schools through public education and working with governments on various policy development issues. When we began to establish our own schools in the province, we had no curriculum that had Indian content in it. So one of the original mandates of the curriculum department was to, in fact, develop curriculum that included our own perspective of ourselves, our values, our traditions, and our cultures.
The college maintains a variety of programs to meet its mandate.
Right now we currently have the Elders Department, which is basically the focus of that department hasn't changed. We do have a strong traditional council of elders that work with us, inclusive of all programs within the centre itself. We have the library department again that provides all library services to First Nations band schools, to universities, and to general public. The library department is involved in a massive CD-ROM project. It's called the Saskatchewan Keeping House Project. Basically, it's a project that has the involvement of cataloging all the elder stories, the elders photographs. We have our artifacts, our paintings that are also inclusive of that particular project. And that information is being fielded out to schools and to whoever else wants to use it. Languages, we have them in all 5 language groups, and 3 or 4 other dialects. We have the Cree, we have the Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, the Dene, woodland Cree, Swampy Cree, and the Plains Cree. So we cover all areas, and we have a staff of in all 5 language areas as well.
The celebrations came to an end with a powwow held at SICC Place.
When I was little, I used to see some old people dancing, the old people singing. It's been going on for quite a while.
You meet people from like different cultures, you know, like you meet all sorts of people here.
It's pretty good though. I like it here. A lot of people, a lot of friends. All my family's down here. They just came from the reserve and that. It's pretty fun.
A lot of young people don't have culture these days, you know, and you need events like this, and you know, slowly and surely, you know, everybody gets involved, and you know, that's what we need. Instead, otherwise they'd be roaming the streets, you know, getting in trouble.
Well, I was so excited because this is only my second powwow this year, and this is a really good turnout actually. It's a real good drummers, good singers, good everything, good dancers. We're having lots of fun today.
It keeps our culture alive. That's all we have left basically is powwows and rain dances and sweats. That's all we have left. We don't have much left anymore.
Because this is spiritual. This is special for us.
It was a traditional powwow with dance competitions replaced by dance demonstrations. This is the traditional way our people celebrate it, enjoying the pure joy of the dance.
I think the elders have always had a role to play, not only within the center, but within our own governments, within our own communities. I think their role has been a very important one. They advise, they counsel, they lecture, and they laugh with us. And their role has been, I think, the fundamental to the growth of our own people, and continues to be. Like our elders to us are the key role in everything that we do. And we turn to them for their advice, and it's always there, and that's what we cherish. The Board of Governors are once again working to establish another institution, and that is the First Nations Keeping House, the first Indian-owned and operated museum in Saskatchewan. We are now in phase 2 of that particular project. The artifacts and the costumes, the artwork, that you see in our main gallery is a composition of all artwork and artifacts of our First Nations people in Saskatchewan. And some have been given to us as gifts during our travels. And we have much more of the works in storage because we have no place to put it. And I think this was the impetus for the development of a museum. And nobody knows that this place exists until they come here and see how beautiful it looks. They're so surprised to see that we do actually have a little gallery here, and a museum in the making, we say.
Cultural Center.
I think there's always room to expand. The center certainly has changed over the years. It needs to expand in terms of hiring more staff. It needs to expand its funding base. Our funding base is at a level where we just simply cannot provide the kinds of services that are being demanded of us. The demands are becoming greater and greater every year because of the growth and the influx of education of our own people. And we have to be able to grow and to meet that demand. And in that respect, we need to really move forward to build new paths and build new horizons and new partnerships. And I think we're doing that now. We're making that momentum to build partnerships with other First Nations, with other institutions, and developing the center to what it can and should be for the future.